Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting sewing vlog on this channel. This is a beautiful skirt with side ruffles that I made in this video. I'm so amazed with the outcome of this skirt. It's so stylish and elegant, so I assure you to stay to the end so you can follow the steps I use in making this beautiful skirt. I would love to see your recreation on this skirt, so let's get down into this tutorial. To make this skirt, I have my beautiful Ankara fabric, I have my cotton lining, my scissors, my measuring tape, my zip for the skirt, and my check. So I went ahead to fold the fabric into four because I want to cut the front and the back together. So I will be dropping 2 inches, which is for the band. The band will measure 2 inches to get the full length of this skirt. So I dropped 2 inches to get the full length for this skirt, which is 19 inches, and I added extra allowance because I want to fold in the fabric with the lining. Like I added extra 3 inches, which is 22 inches that I'm trying to mark down here. After marking it, I'll go ahead to make it in a straight line using my curve. So I'm making it in a straight line just the way I'm doing now. If you notice towards the side, I left some extra space which becomes the zip allowance for this skirt. So I'm marking down 1.5 inch to make it in a vertical form for the zip allowance. So after this, I will connect it like so. So I'm making it a straight line just the way I'm doing now, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. After cutting it out, this becomes the waistline and this becomes the down part. So on the waistline, I will mark the round waist, which is 28 inches divided by 4, which gave 7 inches plus 2 inch extra for the sewing allowance, which is 9 inches. So I'll mark 9 inches at that waist side. So after marking the 9 inches now, I will drop the 2 inches for the waistband and mark my hip line, and the hip line is 8.5 inch, and I will make it in a straight line. After making it in a straight line, I'll go ahead to measure my hip circumference, and my hip circumference is 40 inches, which I'll divide by 4, which gave 10 inches, and plus 2 inch allowance, which is 12 inches that I'm marking down there. So after marking it down, for the down part of the skirt, I'll minus 1 inch from what I have on the hip line, which is 12 minus 1, which gave 11, and I'm marking 11 inches around the down part of the skirt. I'll be connecting it just the way I am doing from the waist to the hip line and down to the skirt length. For the center front, I will come down from the waistline by 1 inch, just the way I'm doing. And for the center back, I will come down from the waistline by ½ inch, and I'll mark it like so. Then I'll go over to the side front and mark 2 inches allowance I already gave for the skirt, and I will cross check the measurement, and I will connect it to the already marked out 1 inch, just the way I'm doing now. This helps to shaping your skirt. And after cutting it out, I will cut out the front side. After cutting the front slant, I will cut the ½ inch for the back slant. Towards the zip allowance, I will mark out ½ inch, and I will slant it this way to the hip line. This is just personal for me. Over time, it has helped my zip to relax very well on my skirt or gown. So this is how the skirt looks like. Well, if you're not familiar with the back slanting for the zip area, you can decide to leave yours straight as it was. I'll bring in the back skirt and I will fold the hem area using the hemming allowance I already gave for this skirt. So I'm just trying to mark out the slits, the center back slits for this skirt. So I will measure out what I have on that hemming area just to make sure that it's accurate, like I folded it very well. So after measuring this, I will go over to the center back. I'll measure out 3 inches as it is folded. I'll measure out 3 inches, and that becomes the length of the slits. So after measuring out 3 inches in length, in width I'll measure 1 inch, and I'll connect it just this way. So after making this, I will go ahead to cut it out, and this is how it is. So this is just the same way I also cut it on my lining piece. So for everything, I went ahead to cut out my lining piece just this way. I ended up making my lining shorter than the main fabric, which I told you that I will be using the main fabric to complete the lining piece for the inside. So after everything, this is the basket. I ended up cutting it just the same way as the main fabric, including the slits for the center back. So this is how everything looks like, and I'll be folding it in just that way. So for the front, I will bring it in, open it up, and I'll measure for the hem. So for the hemming part, I will stitch the hem just this way. That will be the first thing to do, and before going ahead to turn the sides just the way I'm trying to show you how it will look like. So after doing the hem, this is how the hem of the skirt looks like, and I went ahead to stitch the sides of the skirt. So I stitched both sides and the hem as well. This is how it looks like, and I did the same thing for the back of this skirt. I used 1/2 inch to stitch it on the hem area, that's the down part. I will go ahead to turn the inside to be outside, like in out. So after turning it out and making sure everything is relaxed, this is how the outside looks like, looking all beautiful. So this is the same thing I did for the back, and this is how it's looking like. I'll go ahead to press it, and this is how it looks like after ironing it and making sure everything relaxes well. So now it's time to join the skirt. So I'll be merging it up front facing front. I'll be placing it front facing front just this way. I'll go ahead to stitch it on the sides using the actual measurement, and I'll stitch it on the side using the actual measurement for the skirt. And after doing this is how it looks like. Remember, I didn't join the center back for the zip. I went ahead to press the seams open for the side seams, and this is how everything looks like. So after this, I will measure 2.5 inch from the waistline. I'll measure 2.5 inch on the waistline, and for the center front, I'll note where the center front for the skirt is, and that is where it is, which I marked down just this way. So I will measure where I want the back ruffles to start, and that is where the back ruffles will start. So I will curve it with my check. I ended up adjusting the center front design, like making it to start from the center front. I ended up adjusting it. At this point, I realized that I needed some space in between the two ruffles that I'll be making. So I went ahead to mark 2 inches away from the center front, and I marked 2 inch away from the other center front. And I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. I came down by 2.5 inch and connect it just this way to the waist area. And for the back, from the slits, I came in by 3 inches, and I came in by 3 inches on this other side, and I'll do the same connection just to cover it this way towards the back area. I remarked the initial curve I made for this other front area, and this is just the way I'm going to stitch the ruffle. I went ahead to cut out this fabric, and I have already hemmed the down part of the fabric, And after hemming it, you can decide to interlock the other edge. It measures 96 inches in length and 8 inches in width. So I will be ruffling this fabric on the skirt. So to ruffle it, I will place it on this other down part. Like I will turn the skirt now, and I'll place it on this other down part, and I'll make a straight pleat, like a pleat, not kiss pleats, just a straight pleat, just the way I am showing you how to do it. And I'll make it from that end to the other back side, like to the other back area, using following the curve that I just made now. So the curve is just going to be a guide to make this slit on the skirt. So I'll go ahead now to make it on the skirt for the both side, and this is how it looks like after making the ruffles. I'm trying to arrange the ruffles to see how the design came out to be. So I told you can decide to interlock this area before ruffling it the way I did. So after this now, I'm trying to arrange it and make sure the design turned out great for me. I'll go ahead now to measure what I have on the waistline so we can put our band at this point. So I'll measure what I have on the waistline, and after measuring this now, I'll go ahead to cut out a long fabric, and this is it. I went ahead to iron a fusible interfacing, that's stay, on it, and I will be stitching it from one end to the other using a 1/2 inch allowance. I will come out here by half or 0.75 inch, and I will come out by 0.75 inch or 1/2 inch, and I'll stitch it down like so using 1/2 inch. Yeah, the band measures 6 inches because I want it a bit thick inside. I want to fold some inside, so I have gone ahead to stitch it using 1/2 inch, and after stitching it now, I'm going to fold it just this way. I'll fold it like this and still come back and fold it this way. Just follow what I did now, and I'll measure it, which is 2 inches. In our band measurement is 2 inches, so I'll make sure it gives me that 2 inches that I already marked for my band, and this is it, 2 inches. So I'll go ahead to stitch it there, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. And I'm cutting out the excess I have after stitching it. So after cutting or trimming off this excess, I will bring it out, like turn the right side out. So I'm turning out the right side just this way before going to my ironing table to press it down. So after turning the right side out, it will be folded this way and top stitched on. So I will go over now to my ironing table, and I will iron the band area, and this is how it looks like after ironing it. So after ironing it now, I will go over to the front part of this band, and I'm going to top stitch around this area straight just this way using a running stitch, and this is how it looks like after top stitching on it. It came out so neat after top stitching, and this is just the way I do my skirt band and trouser band. So it's an alternative for bands. So after doing that, it's time for us to join the center back. So for the center back, I will bring in the zip we are using for the skirt, and I'll use it to measure where to join for the center back. This is where the zip length stops, so from that end I will measure 1 inch allowance and stitch the skirt or the back to this other end towards the slit area. I went ahead to stitch it and fix the zip for the skirt, and this is how it turned out to be. Yes, so I will turn it now to the right side, and this is how the right side is going to be Oh my gosh, this skirt turned out so great. I never knew this design is going to be great like this. I just said let me try it out, and this is how it turned out to be. Ensure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up and share. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section. Bye.